It's exciting to inherit a real estate business when you know you're going to add value from the word go. Nayan Raheja, the relatively quieter son of the flamboyant Nayan Raheja, graduated from one of India's most prestigious architecture schools before joining the family business. Let's meet this young man today, who started out on a path well laid out and is now venturing into the glitzy world of Bollywood on his own. Nayan, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me here.
School of Planning and Architecture, you must have been a very diligent student.
Oh, well, I was an average student. But they made us work really hard.
Yes, and
Yeah.
how did you make it? Did you always want to do architecture with a clear
I
goal
did.
in mind that you wanted to join your father's business?
I did actually. I think right from the start, even while I was at school, I decided I either want to get into civil engineering or architecture. That was the obvious thing to do as well. I mean, kind of having grown up in a family-owned real estate business, we had to go to sites, spend times. All our holidays were spent, kind of on construction sites.
And how early did you start doing that?
I remember one of the earliest projects that we ever did was actually in Nainital. So it was a beautiful place, and I spent all my summers there with my dad, kind of being on the construction site, learning things there. So yeah, that was right since the start. I think maybe
So
six,
there were no
7
other
years
career
old.
options. You just knew that that's what you wanted to do.
Um,
It made you tick from the start.
More than anything else, I think it actually seemed like a challenge right from the beginning. It's something that interested me, and I thought that I can do this better because I always had. I think that's something I inherited from my mother, actually, not from my father.
I'm glad to hear that.
is good taste and aesthetic sensibility. So I could always kind of right from the start notice what is right, aesthetically speaking, what is not looking that great. So that's how the journey started. Architecture was the obvious choice because it had the best of both worlds. It had technology, which I'm very, very inclined towards,
Right.
and it had art. So kind of an amalgamation of both.
Amalgamation of both. All right. So tell me, when you joined the business, what delighted you? The aesthetics part of it attracted you to it, but the business, family business as it was, what was good about it?
Okay, so I actually started working on one of our projects while I was still studying at college, so in 4th year, so that would be 2005 maybe. I joined the family business in 2006 as soon as I passed out of college. Initially, I have to say that because my education was architecture, I was more inclined towards the design aspect of how the building should look like, what kind of features the building should have, how do you present that building to the people. It was more towards that side, but I think over the years, with more involvement in the business, I've managed to learn a lot more about the business, which also means things like finance, raising finance, or the HR or operational stuff, the IT stuff.
And
Also on the
negotiating.
market.
It's a tricky business. It's not an easy business to be in.
It's not. I think probably some of the biggest lessons I've learned is in dealing with the government, which is actually the trickiest part for me
I'm
still.
sure your dad must have really helped you navigate that, isn't it?
It has. I have learned a lot from him, and I think that is, unfortunately, it is a big part of our business, getting clearances from the government and interacting, for all your needs. Unfortunately, it's one of the most important parts of the business. But I feel in the future, if that loose end can be managed, probably the best direction for the business should be actually technology.
Technology. All right. So that's the glaring gap that you think needs fixing in India's real estate business. What is the biggest gap that you see today?
Absolutely. I think it's a lack of policy initiatives, or it's a lack of clear directional thinking. I mean, look at a country like India. India is one of the largest countries in the world. It's got so much land. It's also got the largest number of people. But still, we are not able to provide a house to these people. I mean, what is wrong? We have the land. Why are the prices so high? It's
You
just
tell us why the price is so high.
it's lack of policies. If you had proper master planning, if you look at the history of Delhi, for instance, half of Delhi would not actually be unauthorized if there was planning done at the right time, at the right pace and in the right direction. This wouldn't have happened. We already created 2 satellite towns, and Haryana and UP have actually taken advantage of that fact, and there has been a lot of planning, for which reason you see most projects actually coming in these parts rather than in Delhi. So I think if there is a clear direction, it is possible to address the needs of every single person in India, from the lowest part of the pyramid to the topmost.
Okay. But is it fair to say the developers are very quick to blame everything on policy, approval delays? There's very little onus that they take at their end?
I think it's a changing market. It's an emerging market. India is where America was probably 80, 90 years back. There's a lot of lessons that are being learned. There's a lot of technology transfer that's happening. I do agree that there is a lot that needs to be done in the market to make it a more organized market, and steps are being taken. You know, things like getting a regulator on board, or things like affordable housing policy that is being talked about. But believe me, the private sector is doing a lot to ensure that we are working overtime to ensure that the future is better than what we've delivered in the past. Okay. Including me, including my team, and all the friends that I know in the real estate business. We are very, very passionate and driven to ensure that at least what we can control in the industry, which is the product, is superlative in the future.
All right.
India's #1 news app just got even better. Download NDTV's new app. Fully optimized for retina display. Full screen view. Faster response time. And Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.